The Breakthrough Club.
This topic is very applicable for all of us, especially as we start up or if we've been grinding the grind for a while and we can't seem to get out of our funk and we're constantly staying on the struggle train. So hopefully you find some cool insights and hopefully you take some action and apply it to your business. So I'm going to share my screen. Any thoughts? Anyone that wants to say anything before I start? Again, why do businesses usually get stuck? And sometimes we feel like we're not getting enough sales, we're not getting enough customers, maybe we're not profitable enough. But really, a lot of it is actually because of a bottleneck that exists in the business. And because as a business owner, we tend to be part of the furniture, it's really hard to step above the trees and look at the forest from up above and identify where the bottleneck is. When we're in the forest, we're just looking at what's on the ground, what's in the trees, we're trying to navigate our way. But really, sometimes we got to step up above and really look at it from an upper end perspective and identify where the bottlenecks are. So if we feel stuck, it's not because it's broken, but because there's certain parts of the business that are constrained. And it could be the operation side of it, it could be the marketing side of it, the delivery part of the business. But generally, our thoughts are, many business owners, they think, I need some more leads, I need better ads, I need a new strategy. And we tend to deviate between all these different thoughts and try and come up with a game plan, but in reality, there tends to usually be a constraint within the business that limits our potential. So it's not that we have lack of ideas because there's many times we can generate ideas and we have usually a decent game plan. But the fact that we don't set up the right system and have these bottlenecks in our business is what really creates some of this just inefficiency and ineffectiveness in the business. So the common assumptions are, if I had more sales, things would work out. If I do better marketing, I'll fix this. But marketing tends to actually expose the problem. So if we have a business that has, let's say, operational issues, if we drive more customers into that business, it's going to really expose that problem. Same thing if we have, let's say, a restaurant, for example, it's an easy example. If we don't have the right systems in place to deliver a packed house and we have good food and good service and all that, we drive in there and fill that house, it's gonna create tremendous challenges, just gonna expose the problem. So the reality really is that we got to fix the internal operations and systems of the business, and then we can really grow the business. So trying to really just drive more attention towards the business could be really a deadly mistake because once you create a poor customer experience, it's hard to come back from that, and it's very costly to come back from that. So usually, how do businesses grow? They usually are based on the system, right? So every business has to have a system, almost like a well-oiled machine, like a car, right? A car is going to drive down the highway because it's a full system with different parts and components and technology that's going to make sure the car goes smooth on the highway. Well, if it's not complete, it's not going to go smooth on the highway. So usually there's always a bottleneck somewhere that affects the situation. For example, if you look at you're driving down the highway and the lanes merge, right? That creates a bottleneck in the highway, and then things get jammed up. So if you have a sales funnel and you're driving leads into a sales funnel, and then the funnel tightens up in the middle because you can't deliver what you promised, then you're gonna mess up all those leads that you're driving. If you have a leaky bucket and you're trying to drive more revenue and costs are coming out of your business, then that's going to just, again, really defeat the purpose. So it's really, really important to look at what is causing the bottleneck. And usually, like more often than not, for small and mid-sized businesses, it's us. It's the founder that's a big part of causing the bottleneck. Because we think when we start off, we tend to do everything ourselves. We tend to want to do everything ourselves. We tend to believe that we can do it better than anybody else, and we want to keep control and we don't mess things, make sure things don't get messed up. We want to make sure we approve everything. Decisions usually wait. So we're like, oh, let me get back to that. So now the cost of inaction is escalating. And really, as a founder, we tend to feel like we're busy and we're just kind of really busy and not staying productive. And we're working too much in the business instead of on the business. There needs to really be a balance that if you are in business, you're in business. Like you got to run a business. So you got to work on the business instead of just in the business. Because if you're in the business, who's working on the business, right? If you're serving customers, if you're doing graphic design, if you're doing every minutia task in your business, who is working on the business, right? So you really got to have yourself have a certain amount of time spent working on the business. And the business can only grow as far as you grow if you're the bottleneck. So an example, for example, is that a founder answers every message, right? So then the team waits for the founder to get to everything, right? So that's inefficiency. The owner jumps into every problem, right? So then the teams are like, well, why are we going to try and solve problems? We know that he's going to jump into that problem. So what's the point, right? The founder tends to be drained and exhausted, but they feel like they're needed and they can't take a break. I hear this all the time, like all the time. It's like, I'm so busy. I'm so busy. Like, you're busy doing what? Like, there's got to be some time where you just step back, reflect, and say, okay, here's my daily schedule, here's my weekly tasks, here are my priorities. Let's set this thing up the right way where you can focus on your business, you can work a little bit in your business, and you can have a quality of life. That's really, but sometimes it takes 10, 20 years to get to that point, and that's what we try and instill in people. It's like get to that point quicker than later. So the owner really, this is really the most common bottleneck is that the owner becomes just the limiting part of the business. And once you realize that and you start looking at the system where you're part of that system, but then you have the cogs and the pieces that are the other part of the system, then you'll be way better off. You have a much performing business and you have a way better quality of life. So costs of bottleneck, usually it's lost momentum, missed opportunities. We'll get to that, and that hot lead disappears, right? Because you never get to that. By the time you get to that, they've moved on to something else. The team is not engaged. You have labor costs. You're paying your team, but they're not really engaged, and they're waiting for you to assign every single task, which now creates more of a bottleneck for you. It's becoming chaotic. With regards to the engagement of the team, set the goals, set what you want achieved, have a meeting rhythm to make it's almost like a system of accountability where you have maybe a once a week meeting or as frequently as needed, but not on a daily basis, and have that accountability as part of your business rhythm. The other cost is burnout. Eventually, people just burn out, and it's too much, and you realize that as you get older, maybe when you're in your 20s and 30s, you think you're Superman, you can do everything, but once you get to the 40s, 50s, and 60s, the energy fades off, and you gotta really have the right system in place. And as well, it's just slower cash flow. So you're not as profitable as you could be. So being indispensable feels important, but actually it's the opposite of really being efficient and being a good leader. It's really, really important to look ourselves as a founder and how we fit into the equation of our business and where we're most effective. Another big one is slow decision making. We call it decision latency. So it's just a delay between knowing what to do and actually deciding you're gonna do it and taking action. And usually this is like it's just you're either not confident or you don't have the priorities straight or you're not making a decision. And again, the fact that you're not making a decision, you're actually making a decision. You're making a decision not to act or not to take certain steps. So slowing down that decision making is really costly. And waiting for more information, just being over analytical, trying to figure out the full game plan before you take the first steps. You don't need to figure out the whole ladder. Like if you get take the first, second, third step, you're gonna get clarity which way you're gonna go. But you got to take action, because action creates that clarity. Because really, if you're just sitting back trying to analyze the full path and game plan, and you're then saying, okay, I need to have it all from A to Z before I take action, you're never going to take action. And the other thing is, successful millionaires and billionaires will tell you is take action now, figure it out, fail fast, reiterate, readjust. And the quicker you figure that out of experience, the quicker you're going to get to a successful path. Because sometimes you just got to try stuff, you got to see what works, and you got to adjust the stuff that doesn't work, and then you can quickly get to a successful point. So as we talked last week, the 2x approach, you wait to make a decision, and the 10x approach just decides and adjusts. And that's really really a great way to be more effective than most people in this world. So another example of slow decisions, it's usually slow revenue, slow cash. So let's say you want to change your offers and your pricing for your services or your pricing for your products, and you take 2 months to do it. Well, if you take 2 months to do it versus 5 days to do it, you're going to leave a lot of money on the table, right? So, and I've been in that situation. We had restaurants and the chef saying, yeah, we're going to have a new menu. We're going to do a new menu. We literally spent 2 or 3 months working on this new menu. I'm like, come on, like 2 or 3 months working on the menu. Like, let's focus in, let's get it done. In a week, 10 days, the new menu is done. We tried, we tested, we do the math on it, we look at the margins, we look at the menu analytics, we design the menu to make sure it converts and and it enhances the experience, and your best margin sellers are where they should be positioned, and your dogs are positioned elsewhere, but there's still good margin, whatever. You figure that menu engineering piece, you figure out your direction and your recipes and all that, and it's done really 2 weeks instead of 2 3 months. So a lot of money being left on the table by slow decisions. Client relationships, if you have an issue that's kind of been boiling and brewing over, the slower you take action on that, the more costly that would be. They're out there bad mouthing you. They're the ache and the pain is more painful for them each day that goes by, and the stress compounds. So it just becomes a real mess. So really, make a decision, get it done. And you know what? Actually, we're seeing this with the Breakthrough Club. It's like trying to show like the value in this and the energy and the connectivity to people, that they could tremendously benefit from, like joining in the beginning or the first part. It takes them 2 3 months, and meanwhile they're like on the struggle train in the business. I'm like, bro, like let me help you, like help me help you. It's not about the money. It's about making sure we impact you as a business owner, and we can get you on the right track. So it's amazing though. Like people just are slow on making a decision, and they just rather sustain the pain ongoingly before they make an adjustment on their prices, before they make an adjustment maybe on the painful customers they're dealing with, before they make a decision on what they're going to get involved in, and all these scenarios. So again, make a decision, and clarity will come after the decision's made. It's not before. So you don't need the perfect information. You don't need all the information. Just create a minimal viable product. Sometimes we want to launch a product, create the minimal viable product, test it, see if that's going to perform, see what kind of feedback you get, and then adjust, and then figure out the best way. Instead of going and doing all this product development, this all research and development, trying to get to like a year. I see a lot of scientists doing this, like a year of research, right? And resources and money burnt and cash spent, instead of just doing a minimal viable product and releasing it and see what kind of data and feedback you get from your customers. So once you start taking some action, it creates momentum, and then you actually get more clarity, because now you're seeing the path closer to your feet and you can get some more clarity. So truly make a decision, take some action, and don't overthink it. Don't overcomplicate it. What's worst case scenario? You're just gonna make a mistake. Well, mistake is the best lessons you're gonna make anyway. So don't worry about it. Just make a decision and let's go. So another bottleneck is really cash flow. Uh, Cash flow usually we're underpriced. You know, we had a session here a few weeks ago, and it's in the recording for some of those new people. Is that increase your prices? Like increase your prices. Go after the ideal customer that's willing to pay those prices. Get known to those customers, but you increase your prices based on the value that you give in the marketplace. So the input creates the output, right? The input is the value that you give in the marketplace, and therefore, as a result, you can increase your prices. So if you need to look, I talked to one member here, you know, he was doing certain this part of the service of his business. I said, well, how about if you take this part that you're really good at and add a few more components, and now you got this type of, instead of charging whatever, a few $1,000s for your offer, now you can charge this much because now you have a full meal deal and a full package to the right client. So underpricing is a very common bottleneck. Discounting, you know, people are all happy hours, things like that. Instead of discounting, increase the value. Keep your price premium or keep your price fair, but increase the value. Another big one that we talked about last week is like saying yes to all the customers, saying yes to all the business. There's your ideal customers. Focus on the ideal customers. Not having clear payment terms, you know. And then the example in the lobster business, we used to have a plant. The owner will say, "If people don't call me, I'm not paying the bill." And those that call me, the squeaky wheels gets the grease. You know, so if you're having receivables issues out there, make sure you send weekly statements. Make sure you get your accountant or yourself give a call. Just have it to a routine of how you collect your bills, because if you're not the squeaky wheel, you're gonna be on the bottom total pole to get paid. And then the last one is really just being inconsistent in your follow up in your service. You know, so a lot of this is very fixable, like extremely fixable, like this week fixable. You know, but some of us are probably going to take a month to fix it. The So an example here on the underpricing, you know, usually we think, oh, once I'm more confident, I'll raise my prices if you're in a consulting, you know. I don't want to raise my prices because I'm going to lose clients. You know, others charge less, so I should be on the same level. In the lobster business, every week there's probably five, six, seven suppliers that are cheaper than us. Not much cheaper, but they're cheaper. If I match that price every week to the customers, we'll be dead in the water. Like you cannot be the cheapest every week. So in the lobster business, we change prices every week because it's a live commodity. It's based on supply and demand. If we were the cheapest seller every week, we'll be out of business. So we keep a fair price. We're always within the range of the marketplace. But you know, the price is not the focus. The focus is reliability, quality, and service. And price is the fourth. So we take the focus off the price and we focus on the other things that our customers really desire. So low margins, constant stress. Stress creates bad decisions, and bad decisions, you're stuck. You're not going anywhere. So the business it would just continue to stay broke. And another one is really just, you know, when now you're in the weeds, you're lacking confidence. You know, you're becoming reactive instead of intentional. Your priorities are not clear. You're zigzagging. You're trying to carry everything alone, and that's why this community exists, so that you're not carrying it alone. You're stuck in the weeds and you're just full of noise. You can't even look at the signals that the customers are showing you. You can't even look at the signals that the business is showing you. You just, you know, it's spiraling downwards, right? So it just starts with one step. One step, fix the bottleneck that's really gonna cause you, it's causing you most frustration and most really inefficiencies, and then it opens up the rest. So clarity, don't say no, don't say yes to everything. Define what's really causing your bottlenecks and choose your focus. And really, you know, you have to choose your focus. What are you going to focus on? Wherever your focus goes, that's where your energy flows, as some people know here. And another last bottleneck is really the unfinished bridges. So we have these bridges that we start. Oh, I'm going to do this. and we go 3/4 in the way. And then it's like, oh, now I'm going to do this. And then we'll go 2/3 in the way. And oh, now I'm going to do this. And the reason I call it bridge is because for someone to do an unfinished bridge, like they have architectural involvement, they have engineering involvement, they have construction materials. Like there's a lot of resource to get to like the unfinished point. And now you have three or four different bridges, and you're like it's stressful and it's all unfinished, and then you're really really stuck. So these are some examples. There's some good stuff that you do with customers. Showcase that and use that as a lead magnet for your other customers. If you have a client transformation, showcase that and show how you're changing people's lives. A strategy that goes zigzag and really it's not accurate. Sit back, reflect, and get your strategy online. We come up with one idea today, we have another idea tomorrow, then there's another one. It just becomes all over the place, right? So it's you can't. So find which one is your biggest constraint. If there's one lesson, like step back in your business and find which one is your biggest constraint. What's holding you back the most? Is it employees? Is it your product offer? Is it your pricing? Is it your involvement? Is it your system? What is it, right? Is it your speed of decision? What kind of energy you take to your business? Are you bummed out or are you excited? If you're excited, make the tough decision, let it go. But find out one constraint because that one main constraint, there could be two or three, but that one main one will really unlock the rest of it and apply it in your business. Just think about it. We have a worksheet that I'll show you here in a quick second that we're going to include. So this recording is going to go into the classroom recordings of the school community. And as part of that, there's going to be the downloadable worksheet that shows you, just kind of makes you work on this, just two-pager. It's like, what do you believe is your biggest bottleneck? What do you think is slowing it down? What do you think you're wasting your time on? Just to kind of help you get some clarity. And really, these sessions are awesome. You get tremendous insight. But just, look at really taking some action on this. And once you identify the bottlenecks, like the quicker you can really get to this, the better it's gonna be. Like stop blaming external factors. Uh, Stop trying to add all kinds of new tactics that may or may not help you. And the other big thing is don't solve for the wrong constraint. It's really like when you look at a business that's challenged, sometimes we call it the invisible constraint because sometimes you're not sure if like what's really causing the issue. So you really want to figure out what is the underlying constraint in the business that's causing the issue. Because once you figure that piece out, it unlocks everything else. And right away, as soon as you unlock it, like honestly, we've seen it. As soon as you unlock it, the business opens up. It starts growing. And just to finish up, your business is not stuck. It's actually ready for a smooth system. Your business, if you feel like you're challenged, it's primed for a smooth system. You don't need more hustle because you want to get a better quality of life. So don't go out there thinking I need to work harder. Now I'm gonna do 60 hours a week instead of 50. You don't really need more ideas. Well, you do because the business environment is changing, but I bet you already have some cool ideas. Maybe you already have some stuff you're working with. Either eliminate them or complete them to the completion, to the execution event. But really, ultimately, you need clarity, you need speed and decision making, and you need to create leverage with your systems. So taking out the bottleneck will give you the leverage. And just thank you for taking the time. I just want to show you before we get into some Q&A the the worksheet that we're going to include into the classroom. So it just gives you a little bit of kind of action steps. So step one, just figure out where your growth is being slowed down. So just take a little bit of time to reflect over coffee or a drink or wine or whatever you like. Um, Look at your involvement, right? So look at the task decisions that you're involved with and what that looks like. Look at your decision making. How quick are you making decisions? Again, the decision can be no, I'm not doing this, right? So you don't need to take on everything that comes your way. So it can be just no, we're not doing this, and we're going to focus on this, right? So then you got laser focus. Cash flow leaks. Make sure you look at where your money is going, what your pricing is, what your margins are. In the restaurant business, a lot of people design menus. They don't even know their plate costs. Like they don't even know how much margin they're making because they don't factor in all the different aspects of what it costs to put out a plate. Um, and then just really the rest is really just resulting in confidence and getting more clarity. And then this is another big stressor. It's just we got so many unfinished things. Like just let's clean up the slate, focus on the things you want to finish, you want to complete that's going to give you a good return on investment on your time. And then identify that single constraint. But real cool tool, and that's going to be in the classroom section. And again, just as a heads up, before we switch here, is that the live recordings are all in here. So last week was 10x is easier than 2x. Before that was another awesome one, 3 life upgrades for the best year. And so it's going to go right in here. So real cool community, great to see all kinds of new members joining, and hope that this helped you out. Hope that this kind of gave you some perspective, and we can kind of have a chat and see how we can figure it a little bit better. I'll open the floor to you all if you have any thoughts.
Lots of thoughts, but good. Well
Yeah,
said.
thanks, buddy.
And I think they're
Anything?
all mistakes we've made. All the things you're talking about. Every time
Yeah.
you've made a point, I've done that. I've done that. I've done that. I've done that. I've done that.
Yeah, I was like, did you interview me before you put this together?
Yeah, yeah. He popped into the pub and heard us
Yeah,
talking.
what's
Yeah.
going on?
Hi, Robert.
No. Yeah, but in all seriousness, like that's the challenge that I set out to kind of deal with in 2025. So 2024 was a huge growth year for the business, and within my network, I grew faster than any of my colleagues in the country, built the business, won just about every award in our annual uh, franchise awards thing. Uh, Won a franchise of the year award and went home disappointed because I realized that, frankly, there was no way that I could continue doing what I was doing and grow anymore. Like when I took a look around, because I was shouldering too much, I was working too hard, and I was essentially juicing the business for all that it was worth, without making the investments in the processes and the understanding of what it would take to actually start to onboard people. And I had some failures onboarding as well, until I came to the realization that they weren't bad people. I wasn't giving them the tools to be successful, right? So 2025 was a year where I really put a lot of time and effort into that. It's starting to pay dividends.
Awesome, buddy. Yeah, great feedback. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Just want to welcome, I see the Dana, Thomas, couple people I didn't welcome when they came in. Lucas, Rhino, welcome. Um, yeah, great points, Bob. Any other thoughts, reflections, how to make
I've
the
got
first
a
step?
couple of comments, sure. And I think we can all agree that many of us fell into that trap of being too much in the business, especially in the first few years. Having said that, I was aware that I was. I knew I was, and I called myself a micromanager, and still it's so hard to get out of that. Um, I think I'd like to just suggest that for startups, it's perhaps a little different. You have to be in the business for most startups, I believe. And but I think AI is going to change all that. So I no longer think that you have to be in the business for 2, 3 years before you can find the good people that you can hire around you. And I think that's the key to getting out of the business and in that day-to-day operations is finding a great team, great people to wear those hats for you. And I guess the last point I want to make, and it probably took me a few years to figure this one out, but I now ask all sorts of people for opinions and advice. I don't think twice about asking for help. I'm lucky enough that I have a lot of smart people in my inner circle, which makes that part very easy for me. But it's you can't and you don't know everything. And if you think you do, you should take another look at that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, brother. Yeah, really, really cool. Yeah. So true. It's cool. I'm actually reading as well some of the comments. I think the unfinished bridges is coming up often mentioned by a few. It's so true, right? It's so true. I don't know if someone wants to share some of the point on that because it's easy to put some stuff on to-do lists and it's like, oh my goodness, look at this thing. It's never getting any smaller. Yeah.
Yes, I just
John, Dana?
I was just going to add that like time management kind of strategies sort of suggest that if you just try hard enough, you can get to the end of your to-do list. But actually, we're a lot better off deciding what's on our to-do list and realistically what we're never actually going to do and just like deleting things from the to-do list instead of expecting us that if I just try harder, if your whole strategy is I'm just going to try harder, it's not going to work. Humans don't work that way. And so instead, like, what are you going to let go of? What are you realistically never going to get to? What is actually not that important, right? And manage your to-do list that way.
Yeah, yeah, excellent. You're right. So true. You know what's amazing, Dan, as you say that though, like you can say it, but it doesn't register with enough people. It's amazing. And it's almost like you need to get to like a point of like reality check. I think Mark Allen, mentioned today in one of the community chat there. A lot of people sometimes don't know what they don't know. So unless you go through an experience and a journey where you get hit in the face, you get hit by a wall and you make a costly mistake and realize, or you have a burnout or a mental exhaustion, then you realize, okay, you're right, what you just said, right? It's true.
The thing we often have to realize too is like when you're trying to build a new behavior or a new habit, it takes like hundreds of times of doing it before it becomes more automatic. So that like idea that it takes 21 days to build a habit, zero science behind that. Nothing. It's a myth. It's not true. It actually has nothing to do with the number of days. It's how many times you do something, because each time you do it, then you're like reinforcing a new neural connection. But it takes hundreds of times before you actually build that neural connection. So it happens more automatically as opposed to like requiring a lot of effort to do it. And so it's just that you should, recognize it takes effort to change the habit. So I'm terrible for like, oh, new shiny thing. Let's start offering this. We have like way too many offers, right? And so I really have to like pause and stop myself from doing something new and just like stick to what we're already doing, right? And the first step is just like noticing when I'm doing it. That's like the first
Yeah.
step.
Yeah. So true. Excellent perspective, Dana. Yeah, thank you very much. Really appreciate your scientific insights on this as well, and from a psychological perspective.
Yeah, I
Awesome.
think, sorry, Boris.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the presentation. It was great. Thanks.
Thanks, bro.
And I think,
Welcome.
thank you. And I also think that constraints can be mental, not like system or physical. It can be back to kind of the subject of risk, like risks that people are willing to take. If they're not lined up, then you could have that kind of clunky, it could be a constraint somewhere. And I noticed that in the education sector, often there's a different attitude there where a vote of 20-1 is a tie, right? You have to bring that person with you. So that can be a constraint, kind of like a culture or organizational willingness to bring everybody together at the same time. Another one I was thinking about that I came across was that sometimes when you have these constraints, it's easy to think of a business case, or a business case makes a lot of sense to fix that constraint by going kind of around it. Like in IT systems, for instance, if there seemed to be a common problem, it's not very far away that somebody can be knocking your door saying, well, I've got some new software and it can solve this problem. Rather than actually fixing that bridge or reinforcing that bridge, it just gives you another one to manage, maintain, and to look after. So sometimes I think it's easy to be sometimes seduced into, I'll just buy something shiny as well, because it gets rid of that constraint. But actually what's happened with that constraint is that new systems have built up around it anyway. Like one that I do myself, which I'm not proud of, but with VW, with their service department, I had a few issues and complaints, started emailing the service manager. So now I book my services through the service manager. I can email. I've gone around the system because I know I've got some trusted person there that I've established a relationship. So if I was their system, I'd be saying, well, I want to kind of bring that person back in, and I want to show that person that now we are doing it much better. So you can have these little things kind of building up that then become, inefficient effectively.
It becomes an inefficient system.
Yeah,
It becomes an inefficient system. Yeah, true. Yeah, well said. Thanks, buddy. Welcome, Basim. I just saw you chimed in. You came in the room there, buddy.
Late.
Yeah, cool. No worries. Awesome. Yeah, so great chats. If anyone else has some thoughts or how to learn from each other or something that's worked for you that can try and figure out as a group. We talked with him about just really bottlenecks in the business, and sometimes we're not aware. Usually the founder being involved or not being priced properly or not making a decision fast enough,
Right.
Or starting many things and not finishing them. Thomas, you have any thoughts from Mariana or Johnny, Carl, Mats from Norway?
Sure.
Yeah,
You go ahead. I'll go.
great presentation. Definitely hit a lot of highlights.
Thanks,
I think every aspect of our business is like a season, but we got to stay focused on that season. Every season is different from each other. So when we recognize that phase of our business will come and it will go, then we need to embrace the obstacles for that season. And it comes down to something I've learned a long time ago, which is not original. What pain do you want to battle? Are you avoiding short-term pain or long-term pain? And only when your foresight has a vision down the road will you realize that the avoidance of all these short-term pains create an immense hurt later on. So those to-do lists, they can really be put into different categories. It's a simple thought process. But when we start as entrepreneurs, organization's not at the top of our headspace. What it is get your idea flowing and just move your business forward and scramble for all the extraneous aspects of our business that need to be put into place, like a place of work, computerization, how are we going to finance, whatever that might be. And you see, all of these are different aspects and sub-seasons of our business. Because even during the summer, it can rain. And even during the summer, as we've seen in Calgary, it can snow. So you need to be prepared in preparation and mental agility to be able to maneuver around risk factors when really we allow ourselves sometimes to have these mental anchors that weigh us down so the ship can't move forward. And what we forget probably is because we're so focused and overwhelmed by our excitement for our business to create new business, more business is not better. Smoother, organized business is the best. You'll always hear about somebody, hey, in your field, they do more. Yeah, they do more. They have more headaches, and they might have more expenses, and they have less profit. And profitability should always be measured, in my mind, not just the dollars, which is monetary, but how about the non-monetary? Are you profiting? So is your headspace like so occupied that the stress factors permeate into your lifestyle and you're vibrating when you go home at night and you're trying to figure out, how do I pay my debt? How do I pay the bills? How do I embrace my family with the love that they deserve while I'm going through this really self-fulfilling journey to make money? At the end of the day, the key is balance, and balance is something that most entrepreneurs don't have at the early phases. And the best source of escape from all of this is to change your mindset. And that's not easy because we're admitting to ourselves we don't have everything that we need in a perfect place. But perfection is not the journey that we're on, it's progress. Progress will always take you farther than striving for perfection. Perfection should almost be taken out of the dictionary because it creates so many obstacles along the way that we can't get beyond. It's like the chef trying to make a new menu. You want 6 months, to perfect it, or in the mind get started, when really it's a 2-week adventure. It's better to have something 80% in the right direction than waiting a long period of time to be 100%, because the differential is usually not significant. It's only an impediment in our mindset. So watch the phases of life, manage your to-do list into A, B, and C, or whatever variation of that, and ask yourself this critical thing at the end of the week. If I only had to do 3 things, what are they? And I know I'm oversimplifying because we all have different businesses. I have a ton of to-do lists. So hypocrisy, you might think, but hypocrisy is the homage that vice pays the virtue in life. And so I recognize that my to-do lists are extensive, but there is a very significant A list. There's a very significant B list and C list. And I have multiple lists. Some are for renovating, some are for property management, some are for sales, some are for individual clients, whatever that might be to help you get organized. But at the beginning of the day, if you can accomplish 2 or 3 main things, let it be before noon. That's hypothetical. We realize life can get in the way, but it's about embracing those obstacles and saying, no, I need time. And one thing I've learned, multitasking does not work for human beings. We need to focus on one task at a time to do it properly, or you're going to miss the heartbeats. And when you miss those steps in life, then you can't work on your business. So the key is free your mindset up. Create really focused to-do lists and be realistic so you can attain those goals and feel fulfilled instead of discouraged at the end of each week while you're trying to accomplish, the feat to climbing Mount Everest, right? You have to take stops along the way and have the gratitude to acknowledge your accomplishment, because if you don't acknowledge your accomplishments, then really, is your life just about getting to the end? Do you just say, hey, when I make my first million, but you're miserable along the way? It's not the first million or some representation of that kind of money or whatever your targets are in life. It's that journey. It took me many years to learn that. The journey far outweighs the end result. The end result is nothing. How many times have you won something, accomplished something, and then you go, okay, now what? Geesh, that was anticlimactic. Okay, I got there. Where's the fanfare? Well, the fanfare is really along the way. The joy should be in every step that you take. And really, that is truly a mindset. And until we change our mindset and we move our energy in the right direction where it should flow, remember this, it's our habits that creates our success. But you can never have a habit without a mindset. Your mindset, establishing what you want to do and believing in it and getting rid of willpower and moving it to want power. The only difference between those two is you've created a sustainable why, your purpose in life for that task, that business, that opportunity. When you create that, then you have more purpose. Don't get me wrong. I've only learned this through my own failures of life, my own struggles of life. And it's not like something just magically occurred in my thought process. But I can tell you the journey right now for me in life, it far outweighs anything to do with money or anything else. And surround yourself, Max implied this, surround yourself with good people, like-minded people, progressiveness, people that have true concern and are able to offer initiatives in terms of your thought process. Sometimes that conversation with someone that may have a different business but is organized, they can really light that fire of inspiration. That's really all it is. We all have the magic inside of us. We know that. It's about getting the fire to light. So the passion leads the way of the momentum, which leads the way of the habits, which leads the way of the positive journey in life. And yes, there will be potholes, but you will succumb them over time.
Hallelujah. Well
Brother,
said, Thomas.
Jesus, you just covered life.
Yo, dude, that was amazing,
All right,
bro.
shut her down.
Mic
Yeah,
drop.
yeah,
Mic drop. Mic drop.
yeah. End the meeting. End the meeting now. End the meeting. Boris, you have this recorded?
Yeah. Yeah.
We've got to take that clip and do something with it.
Yeah. Bro,
Thank you.
you just covered the life journey
Yeah.
like I've never seen it done before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So good. So good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, there's a lot of inspiration there, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take it on to the next level.
Yeah. Hey, Thomas, do you take collect calls? Just
I
in case I'm
take a call
somewhere
from
and
you any
I got
day.
no money, you didn't even have pickup. I need that,
No
that
problem.
healthy drug,
I've always wanted to be self-employed, but now I want to work for you.
Yeah, yeah. No, we're gonna work with him.
Carl, I want to hear your inspiration. You can jump on this wavelength, bro. What do you think from Vegas?
Man, after that, it's like it's a tough act to follow, but real short, real brief. Thanks, Boris. Great session as usual. By the way, Thomas, I love simplicity. I love simplicity, especially as the years come now. They seem to come faster and faster. But I have a real practical example of how relevant this is in my situation. I was a key employee of one school going back as late to 2001. And then I decided, I was inspired to start my own school since I was building something for someone else. And I did that in 2001. So obviously we kind of know the weaknesses of the trade and what's working, what's not. So we decided we're gonna start our own school and we're gonna offer everything, all of these different courses. We're gonna capture the market share real quick. And boy, did I find out working on the business and in the business in the beginning is like, wow, that was wishful thinking, brother. So long story short, I was fairly recently married with new family, building that up, and then now I'm working trying to start a new business, and obviously picture that happening. You got a family, which is kind of like sort of like a startup business of itself, getting that thing, and then you got a business where you gotta pay the bills. So long story short, at 4 years in, I realized that I'm not going to be married long if I continue doing this the way I'm doing it. So there were two of us, two co-founders, and we were doing it all. And I'm like, all of these courses, I basically had to make an assessment what's working and what's not. I chose to, and I didn't even announce this with my partner at the time. I kind of manipulated the situation for my own sanity. I shut down the in-house classes where we would schedule 6 months in advance, where the market, the public could decide when they want to take their classes, right? Well, these things every 2 weeks, day and night classes. Long story short, they're not full. They're few and far between. But our online study and self-study with tutoring was thriving. So I made the decision that we got to shut this in-house classroom thing down. As much as we want to offer everything and be all things to all people, we can't. I need to survive this. Shut it down in 2005, and just focused on the things that we were doing well at, and the business thrived after that. But man, talking about bottlenecks and being buried, I lived it. Just wanted to share that.
Yeah, great illustration, bro. You're right. So true. So true. And I'm gonna bring Lucas up because Lucas is now dealing with the young baby and trying to run a business. So he is where you were, bro, in 2005. Lucas, why don't you say a couple lines there, bro?
I appreciate everybody's input. Yeah, I put me on the spot here. A little bit less sleep than normal, but I mean, generally he's been pretty good and happy and healthy. So, just one more twist and everything.
That's awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. Well, welcome. Glad to see you here today. Any other
Glad to
thoughts?
be
We got a couple minutes. This has just been incredible. Really, really incredible for all of us and me included. So really appreciate you all.
Yeah, I had something to add on.
Yeah.
It's not too much of an inspiration coming from my experiences like what Carl had to bring or Thomas had to bring, because obviously I don't have nearly as much experience as they do. But when it comes to my business, where I was able to overcome some of the bottlenecks in terms of getting the clients and absorbing them, fully digesting what I was able to get, very lucky enough to get, and then working on them. There will be bottlenecks working on them. But I'm at a point with my business where, so to give a context to everybody, I basically do a web development business. We focus a lot on e-commerce and just random businesses as well. But the majority of our revenue, basically like 85%, comes from the large scale e-commerce website integrations. So API integrations between their POS system and the e-commerce website. And which means the other 15%, which are smaller clients, are taking up maybe almost more than half of my entire time and the human resource, but generating around or less than 15%. So that's one of the challenges I've been getting in terms of bottleneck. So I'm at a point where I have fully digested the existing few big clients that are making up to 85% of the revenue, but I can't really find the next, like it's very hard to find the next client because it's not something that you can conventionally do with the marketings or any Facebook ads posts, because those clients, like for example, Happy Harry's, they wouldn't reach out to you via social media, right? So that's one of the biggest bottlenecks that I could kind of think of in terms of my business if I was so that was basically what I was experiencing personally, and I wanted to kind of see if anybody had any experiences with it where they had to run a social media ads or something like that, but their client target wasn't just on it.
Any thoughts there? I got one thought. I know
Yeah.
the inefficient time, Vince actually mentioned this was pretty good B2B because Matt's actually asked for a B2B sales approach on the platform. You should read those comments, what I posted for Matt's and what Vince posted. But there's a way where you can prepare a bit of an impressive type gift package, whatever, send it to the decision maker of your targeted business and really connect. The biggest thing you want to connect, right? You want to get a connection. So what's gonna show a little bit of value, expertise, professional approach for you to connect with your decision maker in that business. Because yeah, you're right. I mean, I think your social media stuff just shows a little bit of expertise, authority, but ultimately they're not gonna make that buying decision from there. So
Credibility is
I
the
would say
issue,
just
yeah.
read that comment and maybe we can actually chime in a little bit, in efficiency of time. Maybe some people can also give you some ideas there, and I'll follow up with you on that on the platform. But great question. And
Yeah.
there's absolutely no reason why you should not be scaling this part with attracting another handful of big clients where now you have a nice pipeline and because it's going to be a longer sales cycle, right? But ultimately
Absolutely.
you want to illustrate what kind of value you're going to give to them. That's really ultimately, and you want to make that in the professional connected type approach, right?
Appreciate it. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Cool. But yeah, check out that thread. There's some cool ideas there. And so thank you all on the efficiency of time. I just want to say we're closing the Breakthrough Club on Sunday enrollment. We're not going to reopen it probably until late March. We're going to focus on other things, but for now, we're going to keep the integrity of the community and focus on more value within the community. So if you know anybody that's teeter-tottering or on the fence or is making the decision uh, not to make a decision and it's costing them more money to on the latency of the decision, tell them to get their initiative decision making approach and join the club. And that's cool if they don't, because we don't need to push anyone, because this is such a great vibe and we don't need to disrupt that. But I do want to tell you, if you know anyone that may be interested, they'll see benefit of this, reach out or connect them with a link up until Sunday. And then we move forward together as a group. So thank you all. We appreciate you. It was really incredible. It was really, really incredible. So thank you. Appreciate you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Like, share, and subscribe.